guys. Again, this is Engineer Mark Anthony. I would like to say a blessed Friday morning to all of the civil engineering students and also to all of the aspiring civil engineers. Right now, actually, we're going to discuss with regards to the different road structural components. So we just want to ensure that all of these basic parts of the roads we understand before we're going to engage in actual road construction. But anyway, roads will be dependent on design. It depends on the design actually, and also usage. And there were different types of the roads. Let's say, for example, we have the asphalt, and then also we have also the PCCP, or known as the Portland Cement Concrete Pavement. And then also we had also the macadam, which is the older versions of road construction. Anyway, roads are there through generations to generations, and road is the main artery of civilization. But anyway, one of the examples right now, which we are going to discuss, is basically asphalt road construction. So we are going to identify what are the main components of asphalt roads in order for us to aware before we are going to engage in actual construction of road asphalt. Asphalt roading. So we are going to subdivide the different layers in order for us to ensure that we know all the parts. So the topmost level of the road with respect to construction of asphalt, actually first thing first, we had the asphalt pouring course. And then bottom of that, we have the asphalt base course. And then at the same time, we have the road base. And below that, sometimes we had the base. It depends on the design. And then lastly, which is the road foundation, is the subgrade. So these are the main components of the construction of asphalt road pavement. So first thing first, we have the subgrade, we have the subbase, we have the road base, we have also the asphalt base course, and then at the same time we have also the pouring course. Now again, it depends on the design and also classification, road classification, whether or not it is a major or minor road. So the thickness will be based on the design criteria. So let's say, for example, some other design, instead of using road base, they are using CBM, or known as the cement bonded materials. It is also like road base, but actually it is mixed by cement actually. Normally it will not exceed the proportion, mixed proportion will not be exceeded with 3% of cement for every cubic meter of road base aggregates. So right now, sometimes the pouring course also, it will be depend on design mix. So these two components, this is known as the asphalt component, and this is the aggregate component. And fine aggregates also. Now, and also the subgrade, this is known as the selected field. Or known as the suitable field. So let's say, for example, subgrade, it will be dependent whether or not sometimes in a certain area where the road, the geotechnical survey identifies that these locations are suitable to be considered a subgrade, but it will be depend because we are going to conduct a geotechnical investigations, and then at the same time we have to determine the suitability of this upgrade in order to ensure that this road foundation will withstand the traffic load that will be carried in the near future when it will become operational. So normally subgrade, before we're going to construct the road, we are going to conduct a geotechnical survey. We have to ensure that the subgrade is stable, and then at the same time it is suitable to be used. So it will be sent to laboratory. Sometimes we are going to conduct we have to take sample in this particular area. So we have to determine the different types of testing in order to ensure that this is suitable to be used. Let's say, for example, when we are going to take sample for this, we have to identify the gradations, and then at the same time we have the Atterberg's limit. We are going to determine the plasticity index, so of the subgrade, and also we have to determine the OMC, or the optimum moisture content, and the MDD, or known as the maximum dry density. And we have to determine also the pH content, and we have to say chemical analysis also if it is required. And let's say, for example, if you found out that the plasticity index, normally the plasticity index and the moisture content will be out of the tolerance based on project specification, so it will be considered as unsuitable material. So we are going to scrape, or we are going to remove the existing roadway subgrade, and then at the same time it will be replaced by selected fill. Selected fill, these are the new materials to be used in order to backfill this area, which we're going to backfill it in layers. So each and every layer, based on specification requirements, we are going to compact it of 15 centimeter in thickness, and then at the same time we are going to test that based on, let's say, field density testings by means of nuclear gauge or sand replacement method, or known as the sand cone method. So, and then at the same time we have also the subbase, and then at the same time also we have the road base. So normally this is came from the plant actually. The subbase and road base will be coming from the plant. So this upgrade actually, before we're going to proceed for the road base and subbase, so this upgrade we have to ensure that we will get a percentage value of each maximum dry density in the field density testing of 95% compaction. So it will be considered as pass. So this is the minimum requirements before we're going to proceed for the next succeeding backfill. So in order to correlate, so we are going to conduct the field density testing by means of nuclear gauge, and then at the same time by means of sand replacement method. So, and then at the same time we have to conduct also the CBR testing. On site, there are two types of CBR. We have the in place, and then also we have the soak CBR. Soak is came from the sample that will be taken in the laboratory, that will be conducted in the laboratory, and also the in place CBR, which it will be done on site after the compaction. So we have to perform also the CBR on site, or known CBR actually, some are not aware what the CBR, that is California bearing ratio. That is the testing which will be conducted in order to determine the bearing capacity of the soil. So right now we are going to test the CBR. So the CBR should be a minimum of 15%. So that is the requirements for the CBR for subgrade. So what are the testings for the subgrade actually before we are going to proceed for the next layer of subbase? So first we have to determine all these are suitable. We have to ensure that the MDD, percentage of MDD had already passed in layers, because sometimes the thickness of this subgrade is normally between 300 mm to 500 mm. Sometimes it goes until 750 mm. So we are going to backfill this in layers. Every 15 cm or 150 mm, we have to ensure that we acquire the MDD value of 95% compaction, and then at the same time we have the CBR value of 50% minimum actually. So right now, after we attain the final road formation, we already acquired the final uh, layers of subgrade here on top. So we had to determine also at the same time, last we have the MDD, we have the field density testing we have to perform, and then at the same time we have to perform also the CBR, or the California bearing ratio testing. Then at the same time we have to do also the testing for the surface evenness test. So surface evenness, we are going to determine the layers, the evenness of the layers before we're going to lay for the next succeeding layer, which is now the subbase. So the maximum surface evenness requirements for the straight edge is actually root depth of 20 mm. So that is the requirement of, that is 2 cm, and if it is on the tolerance, so we have the MDD, we have the CBR, we conduct already the testing for the surface evenness test, or let's say straight edge. So that's the time that we can lay now the next succeeding layer, which is known as the subbase. So subbase, we are going to start also to do the backfill. It depends actually. Spreading. So subbase will be done by spreading by means of paper machine. So some other areas, actually some of the construction practice, they are using the grader, but basically based on ASTO requirements, we have to use the paper actually, because, but anyway, it depends also in the space. If there is no sufficient space for paper, sometimes we have to use only the manual spreading by means of grader, or let's say bobcat, in order to spread the subbase material. Why we are going to use the paper machine? Well, it's because we just want to ensure that the aggregates, the subbase materials, are properly spread without segregations. Now, after we conduct, it depends sometimes on the thickness of the subbase. Sometimes subbase will differ based on road design. So let's say, for example, we have the 250 mm. So we are going to spread the subbase in 2 layers in order to attain the maximum compaction during the rolling operations. So right now, what are the testing that has to be performed? Again, we have to conduct the MDD, or field density testing. We have to test the MDD, and then at the same time, we have also to perform the CBR, and then at the same time, we have to perform also the testing for surface evenness test, in order to ensure that the area is satisfactory before we're going to proceed for the next succeeding layer, which is now the road base. So right now, subbase, we have to determine now the field density test, the MDD, which is required on the subbase, is now 100%. Well, in fact, in the subgrade, it is only 95%. So, but in the subbase, it must be with a maximum dry density of 100%. And then at the same time, the CBR value where we're going to perform on this particular area, it is now minimum in the subbase of 70%. And right now, after we completed the subbase, we're going to proceed now for the road base. Some other road design components, sometimes instead of road base, they are using CBM, or known as the cement banded materials. Well, anyway, once again, it depends on the project requirements and project specification. Right now, some of the people are still studying the parameters of the CBM. So, again, on the road base, it depends again, the thickness will be based on the design. So road base, it will be spread using paper. And then the same as the subbase, we are going to test it by means of field density testing. Then at the same time, we are going to conduct the CBR value, or known as the California bearing ratio. We have to identify the CBR value. So once again, the same as the subbase, the percentage for the compaction or subbase road base, I mean, is 100%. And then at the same time, for the CBR value, here in the road base, it is only 70% for the CBR. But on the road base, the percentage value for the California bearing ratio is now with a minimum of 80%. And then at the same time, we have to conduct also the surface evidence testing before we are going to proceed for asphalt works. So surface evidence, what is the maximum, the pressure or the evenness of the top surface of the roads? So we are going to achieve at least with a maximum depression of only 10 mm. The maximum depression for the surface evenness on the road base and subbase is just only 10 mm. So after we obtain all the process of testings and everything, correlations, so we have to start now the laying of asphalt road base. Now, before we are going to proceed for the laying of asphalt, now we have to ensure that all of the surface preparation has been carried out before we are going to spray for the prime coat. Now, we have to ensure before we proceed for the laying of asphalt, all of the underground services, underground utilities were already installed, inspected, and tested before we are going to proceed for the laying of asphalt. So that is, in the actual construction field, we have to ensure that all of the utility clearances has been verified, signed, and approved before we are going to raise for the scheduling of the laying of asphalt. Now, we are going now to proceed with the laying of asphalt road base. So again, it depends on the project requirements based on job mix formula of the asphalt, whether or not this is asphalt plus A or asphalt plus B. With BMB, with 15% RAP. What is 15% RAP? Actually, that is a recycled asphalt pavement. So the recycled asphalt pavement, actually, that is came from the existing road asphalt from other areas where it will be recycled, it will be removed from the existing old asphalt roads, it will be sent to the processing plant, and then at the same time the plant, we're going to crush all the asphalt and actually reprocess, and 15% this quantity of recycled asphalt will be mixed to the new road asphalt actually. So that is the sustainability of a sustainability program of any country. So right now, so since all the surface preparation has been done, all the utility clearances has been carried out, so that's the time now that you're going to start start laying the asphalt base course. First, we're going to see whether or not all the curbstone foundation has been done, all the curbstone has been fixed, and all the underground surfaces has been verified, and all completely installed and pressure tested, or let's say gravity tested, so on and so forth. So right now, when we proceed for the laying of asphalt, when all the clearances has been done and verified, inspected by the consultant, project consultant, so that's the time that we can apply now for the laying of asphalt base course. We're going to send the asphalt schedule and get it approved. And then that's the time that we're going to start applying the prime coat actually. So prime coat will be applied on the top surface of the road base in order to ensure that there is no presence of dust, and then also binder for the asphalt will be in place. So it will be considered as a foundation actually for the asphalt. So that is the purpose of the prime coat actually. There is a bonding component between the road base and also the asphalt base course. So here We're going to apply now, start spreading the top coat. The prime coat I'm talking about. We're going to invite the third party laboratory to ensure that the rate of application of top coat is in accordance to specification criteria. So normally it will be carried out in kilogram per meter cube. So if the top coat application has been done and carried out, so we have to ensure that the curing of I'm talking about prime coat. If the prime coat has been carried out, and then at the same time we have to ensure that it is in a certain duration where it is now ready for the application for the laying of asphalt. So we are now ready to proceed based on the clearance of the consultant. So the asphalt laying will be based on will be using a paper machine in order to ensure that the spreading and no segregations will be happen when we are going to do the laying of asphalt. So each and every delivery of asphalt, normally this will be the unit of asphalt delivery is on tons. So they are going to identify based on particular locations. Based on each location, they are going to spread the asphalt by means of either it is by feeder machine or by machine paper. Now, after that, we are going to check when the asphalt will arrive on site. We are going to ensure that the temperature has been checked and verified. The temperature on the truck, the temperature on the paper, and the temperature during rolling also. So we have to ensure that all this temperature, normally the normal asphalt, prior to rolling, the minimum temperature requirement is 120 degrees Celsius. So that is the requirements that the temperature must be verified first before we do the rolling. And then at the same time also, after we complete all the parameters, all the testing has been done, so we can now proceed for the next layer, which is known as the wearing force. So basically, wearing force also, it depends on the types of material to be used on the asphalt wearing force. Normally, on the design, the thickness of the wearing force is a maximum of 50 mm. So that is the requirement. So all the parameters with respect to all the testing will be carried out with respect to project specification and job mix formula, and also based on asphalt conformity certificates, which is being issued by the government. So right now, this is for now. So next topic, we're going to engage in some other topic also. So I would like to say thank you very much for having me today. So hopefully we'll see you next time. Good morning.